All right, welcome to another edition of the Baseline Scoop, and this is by far the most exciting episode of the season. As I don't even know what I'm more excited about. Thinking here about James Harden is now a Philadelphia 76er. Absolutely insane. When I woke up this morning, didn't think it was a possibility. I had Woj in my head. Now, bigger deal, maybe, is it? Ben Simmons is gone. So for two great reasons, this is the most exciting reason. Number three, the NBA All-Star Draft is in about 10 minutes. For three separate reasons, this is going to be a fun show today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Harden trade. I have a special Brooklyn Nets guest host today. We're going to be talking a bit about Ben Simmons and what he's going to be like in Brooklyn, and also, of course, the All-Star Draft. So with me today, my star-studded cast. As I mentioned, Brooklyn Nets, in my opinion, based on our talks, expert. I am definitely willing to go that far and say, Ty Clark. Ty, how you doing today?
They're good. Did anything happen today? Seemed pretty quiet.
Yeah, probably probably the opinion of most Brooklyn Nets fans after how today went a little bit. But we're very happy to have you here. Very excited to get into the mind of Brooklyn Nets fandom and really just kind of tear apart this deal and see what's going on both sides. So happy to have you on. Also, of course, my man AB, host of the Open Gym podcast. Great show earlier today, live show during the trade deadline. AB, how you doing?
I'm doing ecstatic. You know how I'm feeling. Let's go let's get it going, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely. And of course, last but certainly not least, good friend of mine, PSN through and through. That's Mr. Tim Sullivan. Tim, how you doing?
I'm good. What's up, guys? Feeling a little bit happy today, getting a ticket to the finals.
Yeah, it certainly seems like, okay, so for those who, be you on a desert island, live under a rock, forgot to charge your phone, shame on you. Again, Ben Simmons, former Philadelphia 76er. It feels so great to say that. Former Philadelphia 76er, Ben Simmons, along with, and this is where it starts to hurt a little bit, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks, was traded today to the Brooklyn Nets for James Harden and Paul Millsap. So first and foremost, I'm going to go to AB on this first. Scale of 1 to 10. What's your emotions? He's already got the grin out, people. But scale of 1 to 10. What's your emotion on this level? 10 being ecstatic.
I mean, listen. I go big or go home, baby. So I'm going 10. I mean, we all know what we've been waiting for. This is something we've talked about exhaustively. I mean, for months on months on months, and it finally happened. You can only be excited about something like this. We finally have, no matter what you think about it, we finally have top 10, top 7 type of talent that's finally be able to play alongside Joel Embiid. And then to get them this year when Joel Embiid is having such an amazing year, once again, even better than last year, MVP front runner, man. I'm through the roof right now. I can't contain it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, how about you? How about you feeling on 1 to 10?
I got to be at a 10 as well. You look at Simmons, and we've talked about this extensively. Simmons is giving you nothing. He's given you nothing for 7 months but headaches.
I was going to say, we're getting a lot of headaches in Philadelphia.
And you're getting to replace Curry and Drummond. That's a tough loss because they both fit in well with the team. But you're getting 23 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists, and just under 2 steals a game from right now, because of the past 2 years, I would say arguably one of the top 15 players in the game.
Sure.
But if he's excited, he's happy, because this realistically gives Harden the best chance he's had in his career to win a title. Better than Houston in 2018, better than the last year when he was still backing up. KD was in Oklahoma City. This gives him the chance, and he's got a genuine superstar with Embiid and a bunch of good role players like Maxey and Thibault are going. I'm glad they stayed, because they're going to be valuable to this team going forward.
No, absolutely agree. Completely 100%. Ty, we now come to you. Again, our much needed, frequent Brooklyn Nets guest. what is the feeling among Brooklyn Nets fans? Obviously, we're throwing a party here in Philadelphia. From what I've heard so far, it's not as I should say, dull and end times as one may have expected in Brooklyn. So, what's really the thought overall among Nets fans?
Well, a 9-game losing streak will pretty much take the air out of any kind of big shakeup announcement and trading James Harden. I think that was the feelings. Like, we've lost 9 in a row. Harden's in a funk or what? Who knows what's going on there? And I think everyone just wanted some clarity to the situation. We got it. And my approach was always to kind of play this like Kawhi. Like, if he's here, we're going to take our shot and win and see what we can do with the 3 guys. But if not, you trade him at this minute. And it was, Woj did his usual job carrying the leads from Sean Marks to Twitter, and the story started to take shape over time, and then they pulled the trigger. So I think from a Nets fan standpoint, given that we know Harden wanted out, this isn't the worst thing in the world. I don't think any Nets fans were salivating about that deal that was going to come up. But also, I think everyone, Ben Simmons's situation and the way he plays is well known. And the Nets have added Ben Simmons's head case onto Kyrie Irving's head case, onto Kevin Durant's head case. It is the most existentially misunderstood star trio we've had in the NBA, and it's in a social media age on top of it. It's going to be phenomenal, except for us.
Yeah, I mean, at least New York's a small market, so you don't have to really worry anything about that. One thing that I am curious about to follow up ties, obviously the deal happened, and there's, how does Brooklyn feel about the deal happening? How do you feel about the haul in particular? So again, to go over it, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, an unprotected 2022 first round pick, a protected 2027 first round pick. I'm not too sure on the protections yet. Has anyone knows that come out yet? Not yet.
I thought it said top 20.
Top 20 protected?
Or top 8. I'm sorry. I was thinking
top 8. Okay.
I think it was top 8 protected.
I was going to say, we got to build a statue for Daryl Morey if it's top 20 protected.
Right. I thought I read that it was top 8 protected in 27.
Okay, top 8 protected. Okay, good. So Ty, all that said and done, what do you think about the haul in particular?
Given the circumstances, probably about as good as you could get. If Simmons pans out and actually buys into the role, that's a huge plus, and clearly fits well. I honestly kind of like the other things they did in that deal too. Getting 2 firsts is a solid, and
sure,
I think it was pretty clear they were trying to get Jeremy Grant using those firsts and Joe Harris and Nick Claxton, but also getting Seth Curry and takes away a shooter from Philly. It gives a shooter to the Nets, and taking away Andre Drummond takes away someone who is backing up Joel Embiid and gives someone who can credibly hang with Joel Embiid's physicality to the Nets. Like, Nets just got torched time and time again. That's why Jared Allen isn't there, is because he kept getting bullied by Embiid. Same with Claxton. The Nets got some pieces to go to war, and that's I can understand trying to go for a Thibault, and obviously Maxey was going to be a tough sell, but for Nets, this kind of makes sense in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I mean, obviously you need shooting and size if you're Brooklyn. That's been, I think, clear for quite a little bit. I think what you brought up is definitely key also, is trying to take things away from Philadelphia. It's not just about adding to Brooklyn, but taking away from Philly. Quite a few people have mentioned the just incredible lob threat that Andre Drummond would be rolling with James Harden, assuming that Doc Rivers would ever stagger his stars, but we've yet to see that day. So maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. Either way, doesn't matter. But yeah, so it made sense going after and adding in Andre Drummond as well to the deal. So I think you're kind of right. I think it's kind of the best of what you can expect. I mean, 2 first-round picks, a 3-time All-Star, 2-time NBA All-Defense team member, one of the best shooters in league history, and one of the best rebounders in league history. I mean, really is just, it's a solid haul. And so we've now gotten the opinion of, everybody just about, except we have one more guest today, and that is PSN lead writer, Mr. Sean Barnard. Sean has just hopped on. Sean, how you doing?
Yeah, did you guys hear we got James Harden?
I had not heard that. No. So.
We were talking about the NBA All-Star draft.
What is this show?
But yeah, could not be happier with the return today. Daryl Morey today, not mortgaging any bit of the long-term future of this Sixers team. When you think about it, Drummond was a one-year guy, and it's much easier to have a problem being light on backup centers than it is having top-end talent. So much harder to find in this league. And as much as I love Seth Curry, and he was great during the whole time that he was here, the defensive liability that he is too much of a big deal in playoffs for them to be able to rely on for severe minutes. And I'm just so thrilled that Harden is here. I feel like this is kind of a box that has been looming for so long that to finally have it checked off. And I'm sure Morey is thrilled to just have his two real guys in Embiid and Harden united. And if they win a ring, who knows? Everything is right in the world. So I'm thrilled.
Yeah. Well, Morey's thrilled. Absolutely. There's one person happier than anyone else. It's definitely Daryl Morey. Just unendingly exciting. This has seemed like the plan for really looking back the entire time. This has been, the end goal, the end game, the deal zone, everything, it's just all been centered around the concept of Daryl Morey and James Harden reuniting. I think you're definitely right about Seth Curry's defense. I think he's one of the worst perimeter defenders in the entire league, and that's a matter of being physically incapable. I love Seth Curry. I'm going to slam him here, so let me just get that out first, that I love him, right? But he's got negative arms, right? He's got T-Rex arms. He is so slow laterally. He doesn't seem to have good defensive instincts, and he seems to kind of preserve his stamina on the defensive end as well, almost knowing that he's not a good defender. It's not really going to make much of a difference. Focus on the offense there, which is kind of exactly what you want out of a role player, in the sense that he knows what his role is and he focuses on making sure he can get that done. But in the playoffs, it's a huge liability. So I love Seth Curry. I'm really going to miss him. I know Doc Rivers is going to miss the grandkids. I feel
They're in
really
New
awful.
Jersey. It's not like they sent him to Alaska.
Well, Curry, he had a house in Philly. They love the area. He wanted to settle in roots, per Jason Dumas. So you feel really bad from the human aspect of it. The Sixers canceled practice today. Doc Rivers said, just considering the feelings involved in the humanity of the situation. That was before it was even announced.
Do you hear the guys that showed up
of what was going on? So, I mean, obviously they keep the coach enlightened on these things, but do you think that he said, hey, this is probably best because I know that we're losing a few guys here today?
There's no doubt in my mind that Doc knew people were going, and there's no doubt in my mind that Doc knew Seth was leaving.
Yeah. Did you hear who showed up today at Sixers?
Ben Simmons?
No. So it was obviously practice was canceled at open gym, but it was Embiid, Maxey, Charles Bassey, Andre Drummond.
I love it. Oh, Drummond though.
That made my heart hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, just to touch on the point that we spoke about Drummond, how they were saying was taking away players from us. Drummond against anyone else, maybe, but it's a history there when it comes to Drummond and Joel Embiid playing.
Oh yeah,
so that doesn't necessarily worry me at all. I ain't gonna say too much worry me at all. We heard what Joel said. I own a lot of real estate up there. I'm good.
Yeah, it doesn't put a lot of fear in my heart. Joel's averaging, I think it's 27.6 points per game against Andre Drummond.
Right.
That being said, I do think it's an upgrade over what he's been able to do against Nick Claxton and LA. Over in Brooklyn. So definitely interesting. Sixers are in a new phase of the process now where we have finally acquired the superstar. We had seen that originally with Jimmy Butler. Let's not talk about what happened between then and now. Long story short, we once again have the superstar. We are back on track. We have the young rising star in Tyrese Maxey. And we have the third component in Tobias Harris. Guys, when you look at this starting lineup, that's Harden, Maxey, Danny Green most likely, or Matisse Thybulle, but we'll see, probably situationally deciding who the starter is. Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid. Ty, just I'll get your opinion first. As someone on the outside looking in, how does that starting lineup look compared to the rest of the East?
It's good. I mean, my concerns with the Harden on the Sixers thing have never been on offense. I think offense, you're going to be very, very good. And Seth Curry's defense, perfect fit in Brooklyn. Absolute, could not have asked for a better fit. But I hope you all enjoy Joel Embiid or James Harden out there, because he's been pretty rough. And that's the thing. That's the one piece I'm a little concerned about. So I like what you got, but I'm very curious to see. I think this is an interesting thing with the East too. Like last year we had the Bucks, the Nets, and the Sixers that all were really good, but all kind of had the like Federer, Nadal, Djokovic thing where you were each good against someone else and each bad against one of the others. Mm-hmm. We're kind of setting that up even more complex this year, where all the top teams have some really interesting matchup possibilities. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see who each of us draws in the first round.
Yeah, I think the matchup possibilities are definitely, it's what to watch, and it's going to be really curious moving forward, and potentially even, assuming, maybe assuming is the wrong word, but hopefully the Sixers making the NBA Finals, will be interesting to see who comes out of the West and how that matchup pairs up against the Philadelphia 76ers as well. So, AB, what about you? What are your thoughts on that Sixers starting lineup?
I mean, I like it. I like it a lot, actually, because it with James Harden, it brings versatility. And I say that because now you can move Maxey over, who they asked to do a lot this year, and is only in the second year, rather, I should say, as far as being a playmaker, scorer, and setting others up. Now he doesn't have to carry that burden of every play having to make the right decision, where now he can at times play off ball, which we all know that he's probably initially better suited at the two guard, just get the ball, be able to attack the rim, not really have to worry, and let James, basically do what he do as far as scoring, passing, and playmaking and stuff like that. So with that lineup, even someone like Danny Green, who literally, especially at this age of his game, definitely needs someone to set him up for opening shots. And we all know his best years here, the Sixers with Ben Simmons and him setting them up. So now you have James Harden here, who could take the pressure off of not only Embiid, the others as well, and actually be able to create for others as well. So I love the potential lineup that we have, like you say, even with Danny or Matisse starting in that 3 spot. I feel like we can do a lot of different things. I don't think we're done yet at shaping this roster. And then even just a small note I feel like went underrated is the Paul Millsap acquisition as well, as far as him coming over within the trade. I feel like that definitely opens up for small ball lineups with him at the 5, or even if he's in at the 4, he still can stretch the 4 because he shoots 3, so you don't have to always worry about Toby being there, or even Nang or something like that. So definitely, I feel like it's versatility is my word that I got when it comes to this Sixers team right now.
Yeah, especially in that starting lineup, there's a lot of versatility there. I do like the addition of Millsap because he, again, going back to your word, versatile, he's just a swifter mover, kind of like that undersized center role that Millsap can bring to the game. So I'm excited about him there, but I'm glad that you brought up the bench. The Sixers bench is not quite as solidified as the starting lineup. Correct. So Tim, starting with you, what are your general opinions of this bench?
It's going to be tough. Drummond to me was a huge asset on the bench. When you need to give Embiid the rest, I mean, look at the games he's played just at that position, 16, 18 points, 20, 25 rebounds. I mean, he was absolutely dominating just in those one games. It's really going to be tough now. Like, I'm sorry, but I know that you were talking about the starting lineup. I just want to give you a point. Tobias Harris now goes back to being the third star. He's put up the same points. Most of his stats are a little bit better than they have been the past couple of years, points and rebounds and assists. His shooting's been down. But now with Harden there, that takes the pressure off Harris. Harris can go back to just being relaxed. You might see him crack 20 or 21 by the end of the season because he's already up almost 19 and a half. The bench itself is going to be tough. Millsap does add a lot to it. You losing Drummond, that hurts quite a bit. You got to see where Thibault or Green is going to be, who's going to be the sixth man off the bench. If Milton can get healthy, that will be a good one. But going back to another one is Ty Maxey. For all of Curry's shooting, him and Maxey and Green are all right there 3-point percentage wise. They're all right at 400. I mean, I think Maxey's 398 and Seth was 400 for the season. So you're not losing that much. And he's been off since he's been hurt and sick. He's been off his game. Whereas now you have Maxey, you don't have to really concern yourself, and the kid's going to let it fly.
Yeah, no, Maxey's the more encouragement he can have to be aggressive, the better, frankly. And he's certainly a defensive upgrade over Curry, far more athletic as well. But yeah, I think there definitely is a lot more potential with this roster now, kind of like what AB said, though. I do think there's a little more work to be done. Though I do like the bones of where we're at right now. I wouldn't want to sit and not add anybody, but even if we don't add anybody, let's give it a shot. Real quick, I want to save the buyout targets for the second half of our show today. But Sean, just real quick, I wanted to get your opinions on the bench specifically. Do you think that there's enough on that bench to make a title run for Philadelphia?
I mean, I don't think it's like a ideal bench by any means. I would say my larger concern with it, this is unfortunately circles back to the Doc Rivers conversation, is we don't have the bench to be running out all bench rotations in this. I think the bench is good enough to rotate guys if you keep Harden and Embiid staggered, if you keep Tobias and Maxey spaced out well enough, that if you rotate in guys, you rotate Niang, you rotate Furkan, you play guys like the limited minutes and keep that fine, that is more than suitable. My concern is if we rely on the all bench lineups, which are Doc Rivers patent, I don't think they're quite up to par. And I don't think that we have a 5-man unit that can quite go up like that. But if it is subbed right, and especially the one thing I will say, which it has been Doc so tied to this, he's never had quite the superstar tier of Harden and Embiid. And I do think that changes things for how you sub, how you rotate. So if there is the adjustment made and you make sure that these guys aren't both off the court at the same time, I think the bench is functional enough.
Yeah, I mean, the closest that you can, get into comparison is, Kevin Garnett, and I'll let you have your pick between Ray Allen or Paul Pierce, between there if you're comparing to Harden and Embiid. But James Harden is, he is, even without a championship, proven to be one of the best all-timers. I think that, assuming that his career progresses as it has, even, with the noticeable decline, whether or not he wins the ring, he's higher on the all-time list than Paul Pierce, certainly. For me, I have him above Ray Allen as well. And Joel Embiid, we know the sky's the limit. It's only going to be how many games does he miss, this limitation there. So I think it's a really good point, just talking about the level of players that Doc Rivers has. Maybe that does, trigger some kind of revelation in his coaching. We can only hope. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick short break here. Okay. But when we get back, the NBA All-Star Draft is just getting ready to start, and we will be here with the picks and some analysis on there as well. And we'll talk a little buyout candidates for Philadelphia as well. So stay tuned. This episode of the Baseline Scoop is brought to you by La Terrain Watches. Shop the best collection of affordable luxury watches online at la-terrain.com. Don't forget to use promo code BLS10 for 10% off your order. All right, welcome back to the Baseline Scoop. I'm your host here, Zach Ciavolella. Still here with my favorite guests, Sean Barnard of PSN, Tim Sullivan of PSN, and of course, AB Aaron Bell of PSN as well. Glad to have you guys with us today. Glad that the listeners get a chance to listen to you all. Now, we just finished talking up about the James Harden, Ben Simmons trade. And moving on to the second part of what we're talking about here, the NBA All-Star Draft is happening while we are recording this, right? So we're going to, what is, instant for us, analyze the teams that are selected. And as of this point right now, the starters were just picked, right? So Team LeBron, that would be LeBron, Giannis, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, and DeMar DeRozan. That's a pretty good team. Now for Team Durant, now remember, Kevin Durant is not playing in the All-Star game, right? So Jason Tatum was bumped up so that we would have another person in the pool of players to choose from. So Team Durant will be Joel Embiid, first pick of Kevin Durant. Interesting first pick. He also picked Jason Tatum, Trae Young. He was forced into Andrew Wiggins. And why am I drawing a blank? Who was he? Who
John
Tim, help me out here. John Morant. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, really, it's Joe and Ja who are leading that team right there. So it's a different kind of exciting than LeBron's team. So, AB, we'll go with you first. What are your initial thoughts on the two teams? Which one do you like better so far?
I mean, just as you can look at it, it just stuck out to me. You see the path they both took as far as drafting. LeBron more so getting more, I guess you could say, established all-star players, people that he's went up against, know about essentially like that. And KD went the more younger, fresh, athletic, fast, just route of his team. So that stuck out to me. Obviously, name-wise, LeBron, you would say that would win. Like you say, you got Joker, you got Giannis, things like that. But I'm really excited to see KD's team. I really am, because I am an avid Ja Morant fan. And just him alone being on that team, we all know KD's not going to play, so that is a bummer. But I'm kind of liking this team, just as fresh, as new, as different, and it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of running, a lot of jumping, a lot of dunking for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, Durant really looking to
Joel Embiid first, so that, I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, Durant really looking to go young. They're starting to pick the reserves now, and he already picked Devin Booker as his first option as LeBron takes Luka Doncic. Tim, what do you think about Team LeBron versus Team Durant so far?
I got to agree with AB. I mean, you go with the more established on LeBron's team. KD is going for a little bit of youth, and I like KD's team for the excitement level. I mean, Trae Young, Embiid, Morant, those three names right there, any one of those guys is exciting to watch. And you got to, I mean, for everything that he's been through, you got to appreciate seeing Wiggins in there. Like he's going to be hyped up, and playing with those guys, him and Tatum playing, I mean, that's going to be a rough team to play against. I like KD's team a little bit better than LeBron's.
There's a lot of athleticism and versatility going on with Kevin Durant's team, and that kind of continues when you look at the bench options as well, picking Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
And now LeBron just takes Darius Garland, who clearly Kevin Durant wanted. Really just a infusion of youth into that roster there. So I think they have a shot. I think they have Durant now takes Zach LaVine. I think they have a real shot at just outpacing and just caring more. Do you think there's anything to that, Sean? Do you think that the matter of the Team Durant just being younger and hungrier will potentially lead to a victory?
Yeah, I kind of think it does. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of what the All-Star game kind of comes down to, is who cares a little bit more. And what if this is the Andrew Wiggins revenge game in the All-Star game, and I agree that Ja, Trae, and Embiid is going to be absolutely so exciting to watch. And I can only imagine what Ja is going to break out, considering what he does on a regular game basis. So I do like Team KD a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see how the bench rolls out, but I'm rocking with KD.
Sure. One thing, as LeBron just took Chris Paul, it's going to be really interesting. I think that James Harden has a real shot at going last in this for the reason that Kevin Durant sure as hell is not drafting James Harden. Yeah. LeBron knows that. In what is his first smart move as a GM, LeBron seems to be letting James Harden just fall further and further down the list. Durant just took DeJounte Murray. So I think we're really looking at a situation of James taking advantage of what's going on around him as he now takes Jimmy Butler, and James Harden continues to fall. So really, we're still following that, Darius Garland and Luka Doncic aside, we're really following that veteran format for LeBron, kind of pausing away from the draft itself. Is anyone surprised that he seems to have not really learned his lesson in that regard based on how the Lakers have performed this season?
I don't know. I mean, GM LeBron is always interesting to categorize. I will say I think this roster is a whole lot better constructed than the Lakers. So
just a little bit. Steph Curry a little bit better than Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I said, just looking at it, like you said, it's definitely some gamemanship going on here right now for sure. He's gonna try to force that on him, but again, like you said, LeBron is definitely going heavy veteran, like you said, CP3, things of that nature like that. So I'm definitely interested to see how it turns out at the end of this presentation, essentially.
My reaction was just to LeBron taking Donovan Mitchell, and that's after Kevin Durant takes Chris Middleton. So the last four on the board are LaMelo Ball, Rudy Gobert, Fred VanVleet, and of course one James Harden.
Yep.
And LaMelo Ball is now off the board. So James Harden's in the bottom three. There is a real shot that he is the last person drafted in the All-Star draft, which is, from a talent perspective, shocking. In all other forms of reality, not really shocking at all. I mean, is anyone really surprised to see Harden fall? I guess good for LeBron for catching on to it. I guess my one thought was that LeBron, might not think of this, but it seems like he picked that strategy pretty clearly. As now Fred VanVleet is now off the board.
So you're telling me Rudy Gobert is going to go before?
If he picks Rudy Gobert, he's pissed. If he picks Rudy Gobert over James Harden, that LeBron's laughing right now. That Kevin Durant's pissed if he picks Rudy Gobert.
That is astonishing. He's going to do it the way it's lining up.
He has to. I mean, with the way that it's gone.
Yeah.
He picked Rudy Gobert. James Harden's the last pick. James Harden is the last pick. LeBron James is having the time of his life. Kevin Durant looks like I don't know. He's not looking too good. He's kind of looking like he just dropped a sandwich on the floor. I mean, that's kind of the general expression on his face.
Can I ask you a question? Who really wants to see Rudy Gobert in an All-Star game?
Yeah, I'm kind of not thrilled about seeing Embiid, Cat, and Rudy Gobert all on the same team. I'm mostly just hoping that Rudy Gobert just doesn't have minutes and we can just watch Cat and Embiid.
I mean, he didn't last time, so it's definitely likely.
I would kind of like to watch a little 4-5 action with Cat and Embiid and just see what that that Twin Tower big matchup is like. So really interesting teams. Team Durant really picking youth till the very end. A lot of young, exciting playmakers. DeJounte Murray, LaMelo Ball, 2 first-time All-Stars, exciting points on there to, really just help fling the ball around, facilitate, get to open shooters. Just so athletic is really the word I think that comes with Team Durant here. Now that we know the entirety of the teams, I'll start with you, Tim. Who do you have in this game now? Which team are you picking?
KD.
That was very quick.
It's. Can you just, between Morant and Zach LaVine, all Trae Young and Devin Booker have to do is throw the ball in the air anywhere around the rim for all the highlights that we like. Everybody likes to see the alley-oops. Nobody's coming to see Gobert get 12 rebounds. I mean, I get that some of the players LeBron has, like Jokic gets a lot of assists and all. Chris Paul's been Chris Paul forever, but good Lord, like DeJounte Murray's having such an amazing year. He turned out to be the Ben Simmons of Ben Simmons draft this year, at least. And LaMelo Ball is another one. I don't know if I've watched a player outside of Philadelphia as much as I look for LaMelo Ball highlights. This year, he has impressed me so much. That team is just going to run LeBron's team into the ground.
Yeah, they very well could. AB, what are your thoughts?
I agree in a sense of the show is definitely coming from Team KD. That's where the show is going to be. And like you said before, the All-Star game is about entertainment, it's about the show. So that's where the show is going to be. Like you said, it's young, fast, athletic. Like you said, you got LaMelo Ball out there just throwing oops to Ja. Like it's definitely going to be fun. It all boils down to the end of games because obviously the starters are the ones who in the All-Star game going up against that. But I mean, I would just have to go with KD edging it out, KD's team rather, Team KD edging it out only because of someone said it earlier that just they don't know no better. They're gonna go out there and just play hard again. Not even really like Ja Morant. He doesn't know how to just take it easy. He doesn't. I mean, the man tore his knee up one year, and literally the next year he still was jumping out of the roof. So that stuff like that, I feel like matters. You talking about his first All-Star appearance. Everyone's going to be watching. He's going to put on a show. So I got KD's Team KD definitely edging this out for sure. I'm not sure if the rules are the same because I know they changed the rules as far as the scoring and everything, but I got Team KD.
I'm pretty sure you still can't win on a free throw.
Okay.
Was that? Yeah.
That's what happened. That's what happened the last year, I believe, or the year before. But yeah. But either way, though, I love it. I love it though.
Yeah. And Sean, finally, what do you think? Is there a team that you like one more than the other? Feeling pretty much the same as everybody else?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with these guys. I think the young guns are going to come in, take it seriously, have some fun, and set the tone and take it home from there. So I think the explosiveness, the athleticism, all these guys that everybody's mentioning, Ja Morant, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, these are all guys that are going to be there to put on a show. So I'm excited to watch KD. It's going to be fun, the All-Star game. I like that the All-Star game is becoming fun again.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's key. It's just a shame that we just, don't have any exciting uniforms this year, and we got to look at that instead. But outside of that, it's shaping up to be a good All-Star game. The dunk contest is a little suspect. 3-point contest looks great. So, sorry, my mother-in-law just texted me. She thinks she saw me, but I'm obviously not where she is. Really exciting All-Star weekend, which is going to be great. It's just going to be a beautiful time, I think, for Philadelphia fans, where we no longer have the weight of the Ben Simmons cloud hanging over us. James Harden is now a Sixer. Everyone can go insane about that, and I advise that. And then we can just have a nice, relaxing All-Star weekend while James Harden works his way back. I wouldn't be surprised if James Harden took off maybe a couple games still before he came back.
Is he really hurt? That's the question.
Well, I mean, I'm not even saying take off because he's hurt. I'm just saying, take off and practice a little longer, and do whatever. I mean, that hamstring, it's either completely made up or it's just everlasting, that hamstring injury that he's got there. So we'll see with that. But one thing that we do want to turn our attention to is always after the trade deadline, there are several notable names on the buyout market. Some have already been waived today. Thinking of, Enes Kanter is the first to come to, Enes Freedom is the first to come to mind, but not really as an exciting one, in my opinion, for the Sixers. DJ Augustin also waived. DeAndre Bembry waived by the Nets. Really thinking about all of the potential buyout candidates, is there anyone, Sean, we'll start with you. Anyone that excites you?
DeAndre Bembry, I don't mind. Ideally, I'd be looking for a big man and a guy to help on the boards. I think that's where the Sixers' biggest weakness is at this point. If I'm checking the box for players that I'm looking for, I'd probably prioritize a big man that can rebound, an athletic wing, and then another guard ball handler as third. And the buyout market is a little different, that you kind of have to pick through what's there versus seek out what you're looking for, if that makes sense. So as far as looking for actual players, I mean, it's tough. Bembry tempts me. If Muscala ends up shaking free, I think that's probably my number one.
Come full circle, absolutely.
Yeah. If Gary Harris ends up shaking free, that's a guy I really like. And any of the late point guards. I mean, DJ Augustine's pretty washed up, but he could still, I think, provide a little bit.
He's shooting 40% from three on like 3.5 attempts, so he can't do anything else, but at least he has that going for you. So what's interesting, so the Sixers created a roster spot with this trade with Brooklyn earlier today. And that's why DeAndre Bembry was waived, is that Brooklyn received an extra player. They needed to waive one to get to the proper number of players on the roster. Likely, and I hate to say this because I like DeAndre Bembry as well, he would have just been included in the deal if the Sixers were interested in him, because he was on a veteran minimum anyway. Now, I don't know. I'd have to look at the salary cap numbers. Is it possible that technically the Sixers could not complete the trade with that extra, $2-ish million? Maybe that's the reason. So maybe there's still hope for a Bembry addition. But I like him a lot. So I think that any team's going to be lucky that gets him. Now, Tim, what do you think? What are your initial thoughts on the potential buyout candidate? Is there any name that you can think of that you might be interested in, or a type of player like Sean discussed?
Muscala was the big one, just to give us a bigger body, but also a quality shooter. Dennis Schroeder, after he got moved from Boston, was a name that came up. Tristan Thompson, for as much as he is, I mean, they talk about him maybe being waived. That's another big body. Even though Enes Freedom isn't anything that I like, it's another. You just need a little bit of a bigger body.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran and a bigger body. I think he has more flaws than I have time on this show to count. And I'm speaking about just on the court, not to say anything about his off the court extracurriculars. But it really is. It's interesting when you think about who might be available, because like Sean said, you're kind of just left with what you have. Tristan Thompson obviously is a name. We still don't know if Indiana's going to buy him out.
Same thing
we've talked about
Eric Bledsoe.
Gary Harris. You're looking. Robin Lopez is a name who you don't quite know. I mean, why don't we go to AB? AB, is there anyone who obviously we don't know much of anything yet aside from DJ Augustine and that's Freedom being available. Is there anyone who you're looking at that you're expecting to possibly be bought out and who the Sixers should definitely pursue?
Well, it's for sure not going to be Enes Freedom, kid, or whatever his name is nowadays. That's he's not on my list. But I mean, I'm intrigued by a Tristan Thompson for sure. I know he comes with a lot of different off-court things that we all don't particularly care for, but that's definitely a name that stuck out to me just for what he brings. Obviously, rebounding, defense. And Sean brought it up earlier as well. If someone like a Gary Harris, who I believe if that becomes available, that's probably my number one target, per se. Like after losing like a guy like a Seth Curry, and you get someone who's probably not as good as a shooter as Seth, but he's become a very good, solid defender in his NBA, and not being known as a defender even coming out of college, for him to come in and be able to still give you that 3-and-D type of play. I definitely like someone like a Gary Harris for sure. And I still feel like we still need to get another guard per se. I'm not too high on Dennis, me personally, because he wants to be the guy anywhere he goes.
Yeah. Looking for a bigger role than Philadelphia can likely provide.
Exactly. So, I mean, like I said, we're going to take the time to see who shakes loose. But if I had to just right now just look like the potential candidates, like someone like a Tristan and Gary Harris for sure would be someone I'm going to from the jump.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Eric Bledsoe, they're talking about buying him out of Portland. Who knows what Portland's doing? I would try and trade him in the offseason, but Blazers going to do what they're going to do, and Damian Lillard's just along for the ride.
Here's a name that I was looking at, John Wall. They were talking about after all the stuff, you can't go after him, but like, Jesus, that's
so based on everything that I've heard, if John Wall is bought out somehow, some way, which I think so, John Wall and Russell Westbrook still have player options for the following year. So I'm assuming they're still going to be on the books for Houston and LA next year as well. So there's still potential for an off-season deal swapping John Wall and Russell Westbrook for, whatever picks or Taylor Horton Tucker, whatever the Rockets may end up wanting. So I don't expect him to be bought out. If he is bought out, I think he immediately signs a 2-year deal with the LA Clippers. I don't know if Philadelphia really has a shot, or even if they should pursue him, because he might be he's definitely the best player on that, list of people who we've talked about from a pure talent perspective. But if the Lakers have shown us everything, it's that talent isn't everything. So really I'm looking more so for like fit with the bench, and as opposed to nobody, or as opposed to Dennis Schroeder and that's freedom, I would love to have John Wall. For me personally, I'm looking at Gary Harris as a huge option if he is bought out. Mike Muscala, of course. I'm really interested in Robin Lopez, potentially as a defensive center rebounder.
I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard, I would say probably the least about Lopez being bought out of any of the names that we've mentioned.
Okay.
They were asking a first-round pick for him.
I know, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. But I mean, what's the worst they can say? No, so ask for a first-round pick for anybody. It's exactly what happened. So I'd be very interested in him. I think much more likely Tristan Thompson is potentially what you're looking at. I would say it wouldn't be surprising if you ended up with DJ Augustin and Tristan Thompson, which I think I'm okay with that, at the end of the day, because I'm not looking for someone to take a ton of minutes at the point, position, backup point position. And especially since once we get to the playoffs, it's a little different with Doc Rivers. But typically your roster goes down to 8, as far as who you actually have in your rotation. So at that point, we're looking at our starting 5 that we mentioned, whomever between Green or Thibault is not starting. We'll take one big man and probably Shake Milton, I'm thinking. So even Furkan Korkmaz is going to have less of a role. Isaiah Joe is going to have less of a role. So few of these names, aside from the big men, would have a role on that condensed roster. So
what about Georges?
You're right. Yeah, there's a spot for Georges there. Well, offensively, he's not a good playoff defender. No. That's my concern. But again, it's Doc Rivers. So I say you go down to 8, he'll probably go down to 10.
And I believe it's situational as well.
Sure.
The coach definitely, like I said, it depends on matchup, who we playing. Like I said, that's why when I stated earlier, as far as the versatility of the team now, it's crazy how one player being added. You can move different players around at different spots because you always going to have that in your lineup, essentially like that. So it's definitely I'm interested to see how we shake these rosters, especially in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then there's going to be a lot of off-season implications as well. One thing we haven't talked about on the show is that not only was James Harden traded to Philadelphia, but he's already picked up his option for next season, which is a little daunting when you look at the cap hit number, but let me tell you, it is absolutely worth it. It is 100% certifiably worth it. So it's nice to know that Harden is sticking around, for next year as well. We'll see how that affects the rest of the roster. Maybe we see a couple small deals here and there for some of the smaller guys, like a Furkan Korkmaz or a Georges Niang, or on some of these smaller deals. Add in some veteran minimum players, whatever the case may be. But this has changed everything about the Philadelphia 76ers the rest of this season and going into next season. So
do they keep Millsap? I know we were talking about
that's a great point. So Paul Millsap, in theory, is a good fit, especially come playoff time. Paul Millsap this season has been, as an old friend of mine once said, booty butt cheeks. So it's a matter of which Paul Millsap you get. And I think that there's a good Paul Millsap in there somewhere. I just think that Brooklyn environment has been a little bit of an issue for multiple players this season. So we'll see what can happen with him. I say give him a few games, see what he has in him, and then make a decision after a few games.
Then you got to even think the role he was playing in Brooklyn as well. It was actually do a lot and play a lot, whereas here is not going to be needed. So like you said, give it a couple games for sure. But like you said, within short minutes, I feel like Paul Millsap can be a positive impact on the team if he's talking about no more than, not even 10 minutes, but no more than 10 minutes a night, essentially like that. I could see him making a positive impact on his team for sure.
Yeah, and when you compare him with some of the other names on this list, Mike Muscala, Robin Lopez, Tristan Thompson, I think that he has a shot at being in the conversation as one of the better names on that list. So again, give him a trial run, see how he gels and how he vibes in Philadelphia, and really go from there. But we'll see. I'm just so excited for James Harden's premiere with the Philadelphia 76ers, his debut. I'm excited for March 10th when Ben Simmons ducks the Sixers and definitely does not play.
For sure.
Which is why I have not purchased the ticket, is because I know that he will not be playing.
He'll definitely be taking a mental health day that day.
100%.
If not, I'm going to the game for my free Frosty because he's missing free throws.
I might catch him in Brooklyn because he might actually play in that game. I don't feel too strongly that he'll be in Philadelphia on the 10th. So
Sixers fans will travel to Brooklyn too.
We will. I already have without Simmons being there. I will now.
Man, they're gonna pack it out. I bet.
Oh my goodness,
they're gonna pack it out.
Absolutely.
We should hack a shack them. We should hack a shack them first time we
match. Well, I mean, so that's the thing. We'll talk about this real quick, as we're wrapping up here, but there's been conversations about, what if the Sixers and the Nets, face off against each other in the playoffs? I freaking welcome it.
I would love it. I would love it.
If we obviously know how to handle Ben Simmons in the playoffs. I mean, my only concern, as per usual, is Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I have no concerns about Ben Simmons. You defend him like you defend Giannis, and he is by far a worse offensive player than Giannis. So basically, just stick and beat on him, sag off by like 20 feet, and let him do nothing. And you have him solved. And then you hack a Ben whenever you need to. It's not not that difficult in my mind to imagine the Sixers defeating Brooklyn. So I'm hoping for it.
We also would get both Embiid and Harden in their full, I am not losing to these guys mode, which would be very fun to watch.
And if you want to say, but Ben Simmons is on, Brooklyn or whatever, so he's going to be defending James Harden, slowing him down. But we got Tyrese Maxey on Seth Curry, and we all know how Seth Curry is as a defender. So there's going to be ways around the Nets. While Simmons definitely improves their defense, him and Kevin Durant's a solid defensive tandem right there. There's still not enough to really make me concerned about a matchup between those two teams in the playoffs. But I would absolutely welcome it. I would love to see, now that we have Harden, I'm at the place where I'm not hoping for the easy path to the finals. I want to see these great matchups, and I want to see the Sixers overtake the Bucks, overtake the Bulls, overtake the Nets, because I think they can legitimately do it. So
the Sixers right now have 4 guys averaging more than 6. Well, Maxey's just under 17, but 17, 19, 23.
He's at like 16.8 or something. Yeah. So,
16.8 or 16.9, but 17, 23, 19 for Harris and 29 for Embiid. That's a tough lineup because any one of them can kill you, and any one of them can put up 35 a night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll never know.
You see a quick point. Go ahead.
A quick point defensively that I wanted to bring up last section, but didn't get in. I think having Harden being able to take some offensive responsibility just off Embiid will just boost the team defense, because Embiid's going to be able to lock down significantly more. Like the plays that he just kind of takes off now because he can't go full out every single possession, both ends. Yeah. Those can now be back in play, which is a big deal.
Yeah. AB, you had a point?
Just what he had mentioned about each of the starters as far as what they average. And when the last time you heard a Sixers team, and you can actually say that, we hear about all the other teams in the NBA, how they got this duo, that duo, these 3 that's doing this, that, and the third. This is kind of
it's really reminiscent of the Jimmy Butler Sixers team, except Joel Embiid's a better player now than he was then. Mm-hmm. James Harden's a better player than Jimmy Butler. Tyrese Maxey is a better offensive player or scoring guard, I should say, than Ben Simmons. So yeah, it's extremely interesting. We have just a couple minutes of the show left real quick. This has been brought up. Well, I initially brought it up, but then somebody brought up an interesting answer to this. Do we know yet? I know that Woj kind of put it out there through a photo, and now it's kind of rumored. Do we know, or what do we think James Harden's number is going to be with the Philadelphia 76ers? Woj put out an image with him with the number 11. That is still technically Jaden Springer's number. So what number do we think James Harden will wear when he dons his uniform with the Sixers? And does anyone think there's a chance that it's 25?
I would love it. I would love it.
We know it's not there, but like you said, we would love it.
Yeah.
Introduce your number 25. What? James Harden. Oh man.
I wouldn't be shocked.
That'd be the kind of thing where maybe you do it for the rest of this season and then you change it to get into the offseason, which would piss me off because I'm buying his jersey. But then again, that's a historical item. If you have a James Harden 25 jersey, I mean, that might be worth more than gold.
Yeah, I would be all about that.
Just so that when Durant sees him holding the title, Durant will be mad.
I could see him doing something petty. I also could see him doing like something random, like even like I don't know, something like single digit or something in that vicinity.
Right. That's what I was.
You just saw Petty at the NBA All-Star draft. You don't think he would take 7?
Yeah.
Well, I totally could.
Gotta find a way to rob that from Isaiah Joe, but I could see him going with a 1. And I think that, Maxey at 0 and Harden at 1 would be a nice sick combo right there. Other options, you can flip the 13, go 31. A few options out there.
Wilt's retired, right?
Cannot do 13. Yeah, cannot do 13. Will not do 13. I had a lot of people tell me in my poll that it should be 13 and that you unretire the number. Let me tell you right now, you do not unretire Wilt Chamberlain's number. You do not suggest that to me either. Okay, so
I definitely agree that it probably be. I feel like unless it's something. What was it? Did anyone know his college number? Did he do 13 as well in college? Like I said, because I do believe that it might be single. That's just like the hot flashy thing right now.
Yeah,
single digit numbers. So definitely, I can see a single number for sure.
Yeah, he was 13 in college too.
He was? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because I was thinking, a lot of times when
it's a good question.
Teams, they would take the old number that they used to play with, stuff like that.
He's going to take number 4 because he can't be 13 or 31. He'll take number 4.
Can't be 4. Dolph Shays. Absolutely. Yeah. But thank you all for hopping on today. It's a great day to celebrate James Harden, to celebrate Ben Simmons leaving. The NBA All-Star draft, exactly. Thank you all for listening. Much appreciated. Okay. Be sure to check out Philly Sports Network, division of Schneps now. And guys, it's time to plug what you do. Tim, why don't we start with you?
Check me out at Philadelphia Sports Network and the first ever in Metro Philly.
Yes, sir.
That's right. Yeah. Tim was our first member in Philly Metro inside the newspaper, so definitely check out his work.
Alec Costaval and I are probably starting a podcast. We're working with Average Excellence as the title, but we're supposed to go over that tonight. We'll be starting that up next week.
Yeah, hit him up in his Twitter DMs at TimSullivan74 with all your podcast podcast name recommendations, I should say. Aaron, how about yourself?
Just follow me on Instagram at only1ab__, and then also check me out my podcast, which is on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, called the Open Gym Podcast.
Good stuff. And finally, our lead Sixers writer, Sean Barnard. Where can the people find you? Where can they find your work?
Yeah, check out all my written work at phillysportsnetwork.com too. And then follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1, and check out my podcast, Pick Swap Podcast. We'll have our little James Harden chat coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check out the Pick Swap Pod. Friend of the Baseline Scoop here. A lot of great times and just great work by this entire team. Check out the Sixers team's work. I can't tell you enough. Just a fantastic group. And this is only half of us. There's a lot of great minds, Sixers minds, at Philly Sports Network. So be sure to check it out. That's it for today. Again, I'm your host, Zach Ciavolella. Thank you so much for patiently listening. And we've just hit you with the Baseline Scoop.